going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here at Wall Street PR. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the Chinese electric vehicle maker known as NIO. NIO is currently trading at just $15.38 after a massive red day today, but they are beginning to kind of dip down to the previous lows and potentially turn things around. There is some fears going around with NIO that we will discuss in this video, and they are some valid fears. I'm not downplaying them at all. But I will be going over some of the recent news articles, the delisting fears, which is what the concern is with NIO right now, and talking about the chart and giving my price predictions and price analysis going forward. I do still have these lines drawn in from the last video we had on NIO. You can see this upper and lower trend line represented a clear downtrend. You can see how nicely this actually followed this all the way up until late. You can see on their low of $13.01 per share. They did have their earnings report. They gapped up off of that. I'm going to actually zoom in so you guys can see. Bounced right off of this lower trend line and actually broke out of this downtrend. They were looking pretty promising right here. They fell below this line as well, and then you can see they just got rejected and dumped with a massive red candle today, like we saw in the entire broader market. But with that said, we'll jump back here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to their actual website right here and talk about some of the recent news regarding NIO. First, I'm going to start off on Yahoo Finance. This is titled NIO Announces Proposed Secondary Listing on the Singapore Exchange. This is freaking some people out as well, because if we jump right over here to Seeking Alpha, actually over to the Motley Fool, you can see the main fear with NIO is that it could potentially be delisted from the US, and the market is freaking out. This isn't anything new. There was some news though, because the SEC did add them to their potential list because they failed to meet an audit report. Personally, guys, I'm not really buying it too much. I think the fear and the potential of a delisting is obviously always going to be there. I think that's just something you have to accept if you are an investor in a Chinese stock like NIO. I think it's too big of a stock, too big of a potential stock for the SEC to go ahead and actually delist it. Obviously, size alone isn't a reason for it to remain on the exchange, but I do think if they continue to go ahead and actually meet these audit requirements, they kind of just, follow all the guidelines, they should be perfectly fine. I do think this is an overreaction, but this minus 15% on the day today isn't really the main, isn't really purely just because of these SEC delisting scare. It's because the entire market as a whole, if we take a look over here at the S&P 500, has been bleeding out as of late. You can see a massive red daily candle as well. It was down as much as $20 this whole overall index on the day alone today. So it really had nothing to do with NIO in particular, but obviously the media and these big PR websites are going to come out and say that it fell 15% purely on these delisting rumors. But if we go ahead back over here to Yahoo Finance and briefly go over this article, you can see NIO, a pioneer and a leading company in the premium smart electric vehicle market, today announced the proposed secondary listing of its Class A ordinary shares per value of 0.0025 per share. By way of introduction on the main board of the Singapore Exchange Security Trading Limited, the company's American depository shares, each representing one share, will continue to be primarily listed and traded on the New York Stock Exchange, the NYSE, and the company has received a conditional eligibility to list letter from the SGX-ST on May 5th, 2022 for the listing and quotation of the shares on the main board of the SGX-ST, and the ETL is not an indication of the merits of the proposed secondary listing of the company's share on the SGX-ST. The company, its subsidiaries, the ADSs, and or the company's shares, introductory document relating to the proposed secondary listing by way of introduction of the shares on the main board of the SGX-ST is targeted to be issued later this month prior to the listing on the board of the main SGXT. Upon listing the main board of the SGXT, the shares listed on the main board of the SGXT will be fully fungible with the ADS listed on the exchange. I'm sure for most of you that was just a whole bunch of gibberish. I'm not going to lie, that pretty much was gibberish there for me as well. But the main thing is they're trying to get listed on the Singapore exchange and kind of have a secondary listing, which will kind of grant them more overall exposure to different investors in different worldwide locations. But nonetheless, guys, the main thing going on with NIO and the entire market is inflation fears. There's these delisting fears that I think are just going to be around for as long as NIO is around. I think NIO is a fantastic company. They have warned investors of this potential thing because they can't really just not address it, because a lot of investors were looking for some more reassurance and clarity from the management group as well. If we take a look at this from an unbiased perspective and zoom out all the way and kind of slide this over, you can see NIO hit an all-time high of $66.99 during the EV or electric vehicle bubble. At this time, every electric vehicle based stock or company was just shooting up and saw similar gains to this, where it was just a clear and consistent uptrend that was obviously kind of overdue for a pullback. They did see a pullback. They consolidated in this range for a while, spiked back up, consolidated again, and then as of late you can see a pretty clear and consistent downtrend. I'm going to go ahead and actually draw in this trend line once again, once we are zoomed a little bit further out so you guys can kind of see the big picture. A clear and consistent downtrend. They haven't been able to break out of this just yet. They attempted to briefly right here with this recent move on about April 4th of 2022, so about a month ago today. It was kind of rejected. They pulled back down, and then they had this big fat red candle today, and this was no exception to any other stock in the market. Even these cryptocurrencies over here on the side, you can see are taking a beating as well. Personally, from here, guys, where's it going to go? If the market keeps pulling back as a whole, which it very well could, I think it's going to retest this low of $13.01 per share. I do think that support line should hold, and I think that's a great dip buying opportunity. But nonetheless, guys, you could definitely start a position here if you are bullish on NIO for the long term, and if these delisting rumors don't really scare you and you believe in the company and its long-term potential, like I personally do myself, then it really isn't a bad time. Anything under $20 is something I would be buying if you have the plan and the expectation to hold for multiple years, multiple months, maybe even multiple years. Then I think you'd be perfectly fine buying at this price of $15.38. Things could play out great in the next few months. These rumors could go away, kind of chill out, and the NIO could recover alongside the broader market. I think that's the most likely scenario. But with that said, guys, be sure to only invest what you can afford to lose and do your own research before investing. That's about it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.